Okay, how we doing, folks? Today is Tuesday, September 6th, 2016. Continuing with our NFL preview. Today we are discussing the NFC West. All the teams play the AFC East and the NFC South. I have two teams going to the playoffs from this division. Starting in the first place team, I have the Seattle Seahawks at 11-5. I know a lot of people are very high on the Arizona Cardinals. I have them in the playoffs. I just think Seattle is going to be the team that wins the division. However, looking at Seattle, they have a very favorable schedule through the first 10 games. It gets pretty tough after that, but you look the Dolphins, Rams, 49ers, at the Jets, Falcons, at the Cardinals, at the Saints, versus the Bills, at the Patriots, the Eagles at home, then at Tampa Bay. They finish with the Panthers at Green Bay, the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. So those are the last six, fairly tough. But you look at it, a team the quality of the Seattle Seahawks can certainly beat a team like the Packers on the road. They have the Panthers at home and the Cardinals at home. So that's what makes it advantageous for them. Of course, on the offensive side of the ball, they lost Marshawn Lynch. He retired, so let's see if Thomas Rawls, who was good in his stead last year, can pick up the slack. We know how high I am on Russell Wilson. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the league, or quarterback in the league. His wide receivers are a bit unheralded, I guess, underrated. I shouldn't say unheralded. They're not unheralded anymore. I guess more underrated. They do their jobs. They don't jump off the page at you. Jermaine Kearse, Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, who's also good in the kick return game. I'd like to see Jimmy Graham offer more to this offense than he did. The offensive line no longer has Russell Okung. They brought in Jamarcus Webb, who's been a serviceable pro his entire career, but I think their offensive line has taken a bit of a step back. Of course, on the defensive side of the ball, it's the secondary, the Legion of Boom. You have Richard Sherman, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. And then, of course, the safety play of Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas. Now, whoever lines up opposite of Richard Sherman, I would expect it to be Jeremy Lane. They may need a little bit of help, but certainly they're not brutal. And with those safeties, and which with Richard Sherman rarely ever needing help, you can certainly, roll coverage to that direction if you have to. On the defense or on the defensive line, the pass rush, they lost Bruce Irvin, of course. You have Michael Bennett with his contract situation. You also have Cliff Averill. But the way that secondary plays, you buy more time for the defensive line to get pressure on the quarterback, and I think they'll be just fine. They may not get as many sacks, but I don't see this defense really struggling at all. So there it is for the first place team in this division, the Seattle Seahawks at 11-5. Second place, of course, also going to the playoffs as a wild card team. The Arizona Cardinals, I have them going 10-6. Their schedule, actually, when you look at it, is probably easier than the Seattle Seahawks, especially throughout the whole season. I mean, Patriots without Tom Brady, Buccaneers, Bills, Rams, 49ers, Jets, Seahawks. They go to Carolina. They go to Minnesota. Now with Sam Bradford becomes a bit more interesting. And down the stretch, they have the Saints at the Seahawks and the Rams. That Seahawks game is what's going to be the difference in Seattle, I think. The thing is here with the Patriots, or with the Arizona Cardinals, as opposed to the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle has that final stretch where they know they're going to have to play well. The Cardinals, where it's fairly easy throughout the entire season, they may have a potential for some letdown. And of course, the road game at Carolina, I think, is going to be the difference. I think Seattle will beat Carolina at home. I think Arizona will lose to Carolina in Carolina. Offensively, Carson Palmer, hopefully he stays healthy at least for 13 games, because I think Drew Stanton, who also got hurt at times, he can service as a backup if needed, but not for an extended period of time. Of course, their offensive line, they brought in Evan Mathis from the Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. We know what he's done in Philadelphia. A.Q. Shipley, very underrated as a center. Mike Iupati, of course, though he's had injuries, is a top quality guard. Chris Johnson, a player who I think can still provide some punch. He will turn 31 early in the season. Last year got hurt. People say, well, 30-year-old running back, the injuries you can expect. Yeah, it's true. But he broke his foot. That can happen no matter what age you are. That is simply just one of those injuries that occur. Defensively, they are also very solid in the secondary. It's led by Patrick Peterson, a guy who's 6'5", over 200 pounds. That's very hard to throw against a guy that big and that physical as a cornerback. You rarely see cornerbacks at 6'5". Mike Jenkins, who they brought in, got hurt. Tyrann Mathieu, who's coming back from injury at safety, if he can stay healthy, is very good there and will help this secondary, along with Tyvon Branch, who they brought in, is also a very good safety. Up front, they drafted Robert Nkemdiche from Ole Miss with Calais Campbell on at the defensive tackles. They're very good. The outside, I'm wondering where they're going to get pressure from rushing the passer. Alex Okafor, you know, not much there. So really, it's their pass rush on the outside that I see is the biggest hole on this defense. And Arizona Cardinals in second place at 10-6. The third place team, the Los Angeles Rams. We know how happy I am about a team in Los Angeles. Jared Goff doesn't look like he's going to start, really struggling in preseason, so I'm wondering about him. But they're going with Case Keenum, a guy they feel is, adequate backup. Their schedule, their first 4 games, is what's going to make or break them as far as a potential to go to the playoffs. I have them going 7-9. They have the 49ers in San Francisco, then the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, and the Cardinals. If they can find that Cardinal game is in Arizona. If they can find a way to get one of those 2 games against Seattle and Arizona and be able to beat the 49ers and the Buccaneers, certainly the 49ers, I don't see much of a problem. The Buccaneers are an improved team, so that's like a swing game between 2 teams around 7-9. So I both have them at 7-9. We'll see, because it softens up for just a bit their schedule, but they have a fairly easy stretch down the end. They do play the Seahawks and the Cardinals again, but they also have the 49ers, the Falcons, and the Saints, but the Patriots mixed in there as well. So they have to be able to get off to a hot start. And if they're able to do so, maybe surprise teams like the Atlanta Falcons did last year when they got off to such a good start. Of course, Todd Gurley, a guy who I would have had Offensive Rookie of the Year in my preseason picks, had I known he was going to come back from the ACL injury the way he did. Look for him to have a very good season this year. He's a sensational guy, 6'1", 227, an absolute load. Tavon Austin has to start being more consistent, and Kenny Britt as well, who's now just turning into a journeyman. He has not done much out of Rutgers. Offensive line, Roger Saffold moving to guard. But outside of that, not much on the offensive line. On the defensive side of the ball, they lost Janoris Jenkins in the secondary. Tremaine Johnson will have to be the guy to pick it up. Defensive line, they're strong. Aaron Donald is spectacular at defensive tackle. Robert Quinn, we know, is good rushing the passer. They did lose Chris Long, though. Alec Ogletree, a good linebacker as well. So they have some talented guys on the defensive side of the ball, but a few too many holes and a few too many departures that I think will prevent this team on the defensive side of the ball from reaching their full potential. So 7-9, if they can somehow get off to a decent start and win some of those games that they have not won in the past against the teams like Seattle and Arizona, maybe there may be playoffs involved for this team. I wouldn't expect it. And then the last place team at 5-11, the San Francisco 49ers. They brought in Chip Kelly to run the offense. We know the Colin Kaepernick situation as far as the national anthem. That is what it is. Not going to get into that now. He's not even starting. Blaine Gabbert is the starter. That really surprises me because he's worse than Sam Bradford, and Sam Bradford couldn't even run this offense. Chip Kelly, I think his offense got figured out. He never really had the quarterback. I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt to see what he could do with a quarterback like Colin Kaepernick, who can certainly run that offense. But he's not even going to start, so we'll see how long he's out. They, of course, open with the Rams at home, the Panthers, the Seahawks on the road for both of those teams, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and then at the Bills. So you look at a tough schedule for a team that's already devoid of talent, and I see them really having a difficult time this season. Like we said, with their offense, Colin Kaepernick is the guy coming in. You have Carlos Hyde coming back from injury. If he's healthy, he's also a very good running back. Their wide receivers, Torrey Smith is the best, but he's not even that spectacular without a quality quarterback. Of course, we saw what he did in Baltimore. He had Joe Flacco. Offensive line anchored at the tackles, Joe Staley, who's one of the best in the business, Anthony Davis as well. But up front, or in the middle, they are no longer as good as they used to be when they had the Mike Iupatis of the world. Then, moving down to their defense, you look in the secondary. Eric Reed, I think, is a very good safety. He certainly provides a very good play on the back end. Marcus Cromartie brought in as a cornerback. Their pass rush just not there anymore. DeForest Buckner showed something. Glenn Dorsey has been a huge disappointment since coming into the NFL. They still have Navarro Bowman and Amon Brooks at the linebacker positions. Amon Brooks is 32, though Navarro Bowman is spectacular, so the defense has some players, may be able to keep them competitive, but just with the offense going to be in disarray with Blaine Gabbert, Chip Kelly, I'm not sure if we know how proud he is. I really see this team struggling and going 5-11 this season. All right, so your NFC West, the Seahawks winning the division at 11-5, the Arizona Cardinals going to the playoffs at 10-6, Los Angeles Rams 7-9, and the San Francisco 49ers in last at 5-11. So tomorrow we will discuss the AFC West. That's the final of the division breakdowns. Then come Thursday we'll give you the the postseason award predictions, the postseason how they'll play out, Super Bowl predictions, all that, and then get into the preview of the game between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos to start the season off on Thursday. So we're almost there. We will see you then. Any other flash news that comes across, we will, of course, give that to you. And remember, we appreciate all subscriptions. So if you do that, that'd be very kind of you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.